Joining me now, the White House Director of Media Affairs, Helen Ferre. Helen, thanks for being here.
Liz, thanks so much for having me.
All right, Helen, talk to me about this. I mean, it does seem a little bit like White House musical chairs sitting from the outside watching Scaramucci and Priebus and Spicer and then General Kelly in. What does this all mean? What's happening?
Well, what it means is that General Kelly is a member of the family who has been a part of this administration since the beginning, and we saw his terrific work as head of the Department of Homeland Security, one of the agencies that's been the most successful in these early almost 7 months of this young administration. And as a retired decorated Marine general, as one who has done 3 tours of Iraq, we see a great leader, a great patriot. As a father, one who gave it all with the life of his son in Afghanistan. So he's a very no-nonsense kind of guy, precisely what you want as Chief of Staff, and we look forward to work with him. And you're absolutely right, Liz. The issues that American people dearly care about, it's about health care, it's about tax reform, it's about small businesses and the American dream. It's about doing all of these things that are so important and making sure at the same time that our Constitution's preserved.
Right, and I want to delve into Obamacare here in just a moment, but I do want to get this out of the way, kind of put it to rest, the Scaramucci talk once and for all. I mean, 10 days, that's an unprecedented short amount of time for someone to hold that position as White House Communications Director. Was he hired? Was the purpose of him coming on the team sort of to clean house, to get rid of Reince Priebus and Sean Spicer and some of the RNC staffers that President Trump had brought in at the beginning?
No, not at all. I mean, the president doesn't need to do a temporary hire to make the changes that he wants to make. We all serve at his pleasure, and at this point, you know, it was very clear, and I think Sarah Sanders was very clear when she spoke yesterday during the press briefing that Anthony Scaramucci had made some statements that the president felt were completely inappropriate and that were going to impede the administration and he himself from being able to do the job that needed to be done. And so he chose someone that he knows and trusts very well and that American people know and trust on many levels as well. And we know that this is going to be a voice who's going to be able to help us get the president's agenda off the ground. As it is, there have been a number of things where we've been extraordinarily successful, especially when it comes to peeling back the burdensome regulations that have really impeded our economic growth. So today you see that we reached on the stock market historic highs and we see unemployment at historic lows in almost 2 decades. So there is a lot of good news that you hear. You just don't always get anybody around to really talk about it. But we're pretty excited about these news, but we're also excited about the opportunities to come.
Right, and that's what I said in the introduction. I'm not sure that this game of musical chairs has any direct impact on history. I do worry about the optics of it. I worry that it will impede either the communication or even the effectiveness of President Trump and his administration to carry out the promises that he made to all the people who voted for him. But let me ask you, Helen, with the Obamacare I guess debacle that's happened in Congress, what do you see happening with that? What's the next move on repealing it?
Well, there's no question that we're looking right now and exploring all the different possibilities of what's going on that we can look at. And one of the things is, for example, you have Senators Graham and Cassidy who are looking at the options to make sure that a number of states be given the opportunity to find their own healthcare solutions and appropriate options. Healthcare, states, as we know, are terrific incubators of great ideas, and some of the more successful ideas that the federal government tends to borrow comes from states. And so we're really excited about looking at those opportunities. There's a bipartisan committee that's working together to explore some possibilities in September. Look, we're an administration that can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're looking at a number of different and important options that are very important at this point in time, and healthcare is just one of them. We were deeply disappointed by the outcome of healthcare, more than anything because it really let down the American people. But we know and trust and will work very hard to find the solution because Obamacare is imploding. There is no other option. We're gonna get it done.
Right. I mean, there's millions, tens of millions of people who currently don't have insurance, tens of millions more who've been kicked off their insurance. Most people have experienced high deductibles, skyrocketing premiums. It's not a good situation, not something that I think the average American citizen wants to let implode just for political points. But Helen, let me ask you, why doesn't President Trump craft a solution himself? Have he and his advisors sit down, work with the states, craft a solution and present that to Congress, since Congress doesn't seem to have the initiative to do it themselves?
Well, there's no question about it that the president, and we have all learned enormously from this experience of what to do and what not to do. I mean, there's no question about it that a lot more has to be done, and the president is going to take a more active participation in this. You know, he was told that the best way to do it was the way we did it, and we almost got there. Unfortunately, we had 3 Republican senators who chose otherwise, and we almost got there to get to that point. I mean, but, you know, Liz, it's so difficult. I mean, we had to negotiate so much just to be able to have the vote, to be able to get a debate going. That's how difficult it is. And so that's why we are so determined. You know, when the president says drain the swamp, it's actually dealing with the political culture that we have that just doesn't seem to be helpful. And so trying to change the political culture, trying to get everyone to work together, we know that we can do it. We know the American people are counting on us. We had so many families who are victims of Obamacare, who we feel so badly about, who were so let down.
Right.
We're going to get this job done, and we're also going to get tax reform done. We're going to be doing all kinds of important issues that are so important to make sure that the average American family sees the results that they deserve. They've been marginalized and ignored by the status quo in Washington, D.C. This president has their back.
Good. We look forward, as a member of the American public, I look forward to that leadership to go around some of the things that Congress has failed to do, not go around it in our system, but just to take leadership and push them to repeal Obamacare and tax reform. Helen, thanks so much for being on the show. You're a champ dealing with the rain. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for the invitation, Liz. Hope to be back on again.
Anytime.